The latest news, national issues, the political scene, and conversations with prominent personalities. All these firsthand at the forefront. Multi-awarded writer and filmmaker Jose Javier Reyes has long been a driving force in the Philippine cinema, crafting stories that captivate audiences and push creative boundaries. Now at the helm of the Film Development Council of the Philippines, he brings his wealth of experience and deep passion for local filmmaking to revitalize and elevate a somber industry. How does he plan to steer the FDCP toward meaningful reforms that will empower filmmakers and strengthen the industry? With us this morning, live at the BNC studio, is the Chairman and CEO of the Film Development Council of the Philippines, Direk Jose Javier Reyes. Good morning, Direk Joey.
Hello, magandang umaga. Good morning.
So lovely to have you here. We'll start off with something light by showing you photos on our LED.
Okay.
And please give us a brief description of what they remind you of.
Okay.
So let's start with this. This is an old typewriter. But
Yeah.
based on our research, rinigalo to sa'yo ng parents mo.
My dad, yeah.
Your dad at a very young age.
Yeah. Okay, I was grade 5 when he gave me this old typewriter which was being disposed in his office. I'm a menopause baby, so in other words, I grew up in a house of adults. So I had very limited contact with people my age, so I ended up doing a lot of reading and writing. And my dad realized that I really wrote a lot. I was doing things on longhand and notebooks and on, used bond paper, which he would bring home from his office. So one day on my 5th birthday, he decided to give me a typewriter, and I still have this typewriter, and I was using it all the way up to, my God, I think that must have been the mid-80s, okay? Until I finally had to surrender it and go into a computer. So it's a very precious object in my possession because that more or less, triggered my entire writing career.
But your ability to write, was this taught by someone in your family? Because you were hanging out with adults.
Yeah.
Or did you really have this natural predisposition to write?
My mom loved to read, okay, because she was always surrounded by magazines, okay, and pocketbooks. But my dad wrote very well. That much I knew.
So
he did
naman
not
naman.
write creatively, but then he had a knack for writing. And then, just as an addendum, my 2 nephews are also in the creative field. One is a director and a writer, and the other is an executive in advertising. So I guess it just went down the line. It became part of the DNA somewhere
it seems
along
like
the line.
it's genetic.
Yeah, I should hope so.
And based on our research, we also found out that your dad did have a talent for writing that you only discovered later through a box of letters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, how did you find these details?
Diba? How can you research?
When my mom was about to, my mom left at the age of 101, okay? A record I don't want to break, okay?
Yeah.
So at the age of 101, when she was about to celebrate her centennial year, she gave me a box, okay? She gave me a box, and I said, what is this? I said, you keep it, and then you can read it, and you keep it, and you consider it, as part of your life. And when I opened it, it's my dad's love letters to her.
Oh, how nice.
And I never, we never know our parents. We know them as as your mom and your dad, but you don't know them or you don't have any insight into them as young people. As as a young couple courting each other, etc., etc. And I was reading these letters written in my dad's beautiful handwriting in dark blue fountain pen ink, Parker ink. I realized I never knew him. I never knew him at all. I only knew him as an old man. I only knew him as an authority figure, but I never knew him as a young human being capable of saying such things and writing such things to my mom.
You mean he was very romantic,
unforgivably,
poetic?
unforgivably. And this is something that I never knew in my life. I never saw this in my life. I only got a glimpse of it when he was near his passing. So otherwise, I said, you know, this is such a bewildering thing to find out that there are a lot of things about our parents which we never knew about them.
But what a nice story. And that's already an heirloom, having those letters.
Yes, and maybe one day I will make a movie out of that. I'll make a movie
good.
out
I
of
was
the
about
love
to suggest that.
yeah.
So now let's look at the next picture. And this is in the Rica Theater, Taft Avenue, Pasay.
Yeah.
Because based on our research, you would sneak out with your yaya to watch movies.
Yeah.
And can you explain why you have to sneak out?
Well, not really sneak out. Okay.
Puslit, basically. Like not tell your parents that you're there to watch.
Yeah, but they eventually found out. You see, my yaya, had a day off. Okay, and during her day off, she was a movie fan. Okay, and we lived in Pasay, and you had to cross through Primero de Mayo, which cuts across the Pasay City Market at that time. And right at the end of it, crossing Taft Avenue, is Rica Theater, which showed Filipino movies. And my yaya was such a diehard fan of Filipino movies, and there was a time that she brought me with her. Okay. And I didn't inform my parents. I just suddenly disappeared for 2 hours, okay, and joined my yaya during her day off. But eventually they found out, and you know, surprisingly for that time, they did not say, no, you can't do that. They allowed me, as long as my yaya was me, they allowed me to watch
How
Tagalog
old were
movies.
you at this time?
I was about 9 or 10.
Okay.
Okay, and since then, I started watching Tagalog movies. I remember watching some Paguita movies starring Josephine Estrada called Gintong Recuerdo. I was a diehard fan of Darna and the Babaeng Tuod and all that. So my parents knew I was watching Tagalog movies, but remember, this was the time that it was not acceptable for the children of the middle class to be watching Tagalog movies, right? It was only during a certain turning point when Lino Broca came up with Tinimbang Ka Ngunit Kulang, in which college kids and the middle class saw that it was okay to watch Filipino movies.
Do you think that that type of taboo, I suppose, for the middle class lasted until the 80s, 90s? Because I remember, even for me, I loved watching Filipino movies, yung mga horror, Shake, Rattle, and Roll, and then the dramas as well. But I do remember being criticized about that. So merong times nga, I would lock the door and watch Tagalog movies. And my cousins, this was during summers, and we would sometimes we stay in the same house for a vacation, and I would lock the door and watch Tagalog movies para no one will find out and no one will bother me about it. But bakit may ganung taboo or like
no, I guess because because during that time it was considered déclassé to be watching Tagalog movies. It was something which was reserved for a certain class. It was reserved for the so-called bakya crowd. Okay, in other words, when you watch a Tagalog movie, you are bakya. Okay, but then when you are studying in La Salle or you're studying in Ateneo, you know. You don't do that. You don't do that. It's not part of the system for the socially acceptable norms to watch Tagalog movies. But that changed. That changed tremendously with the rise of the second golden age.
Which is when?
That was the time of Broca, Bernal, Marilo Abaya. This is about the 80s. Okay, this happened about the 80s. I do remember. The late 70s and the early 80s were the rise of the second golden age when people were watching Filipino movies. And Filipino movies blossomed and almost became competitive, if not equal, to the patronage of foreign movies at that time. So we needed iconic directors like Broca, Bernal, Abaya, Mario de los Reyes, and even the latter career of Emmanuel Borlasa. All these names which became acceptable for Filipino middle-class children to watch.
Well, you went to La Salle.
Yes, I did.
At that time, were you admitting to your friends that you would watch Filipino movies and love them? And did you discuss that with your friends in La Salle?
Okay, yes and no. Okay, no, because I come from the midless of the middle class. Okay, and of course nowadays it's a myth to say that La Salle is a school of of mestizos and the likes. Right? There was a time during my time, okay, in which I did not belong to the economic, stratosphere of the greater population of La Salle. I belong to that class of people or that group of students who still went to LaSalle riding jeepneys, okay, whereas everybody else was being brought in by their cars. We jeepney riding kids talked about it, okay, but then you don't talk about it to those who lived in gated villages.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Pati doon may distinction pala.
It's not
Okay.
naman, it's a quiet distinction.
Yes.
It's a quiet distinction and quiet differences in taste. But that all dissolved eventually. That all dissolved eventually when it became almost politically incorrect for you to look down on anything which is Filipino in character, especially in entertainment, because of the respectability which was brought about by Broca, Bernal, and the second golden age people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so speaking of Broca, let's look at the next picture.
Okay, let me put on my...
So this is first, the DLSU Harlequin Theater
Yeah,
Guild.
okay.
And the Lasallian logo, of course, because we were talking about LaSalle. But Harlequin, can you tell us about this guild? You were part of this as a student.
Yeah. I was at the very start of the Harlequin when there was a De La Salle Drama Guild. Okay, before it became Harlequin, it was called the De La Salle Drama Guild, of which I was a part of.
As an actor or as,
as everything.
director,
as a writer,
oh, wow.
as a director, and sometimes an actor. Okay.
Oh, see, this is where you see the difference. Ako, every time may mga plays noon, extra lang ako lagi dumadaan sa likod because I had no talent for any of this. Ikaw naman, all around.
No, attorney, I'm such an atrevido person. I mean, I'm the kind of person who would be absolutely sick with sadness if I'm doing nothing.
Oh, wow. So you were doing everything basically.
Let me put it this way. When I graduated in high school, I was the oligarch of extracurricular activities. In other words, I was the president of so many clubs. And that was mainly because, as I said, I grew up in an environment completely surrounded by adults, so that an opportunity to be left in school, I had to immerse myself with every possibility of working with people of my age. Okay, so I was with Harlequin, then I was features editor of Lasallian, okay, which is the campus newspaper. And being this is so funny. Being a features editor of Lasallian became a major turning point in what turned out to be my career.
How? In what sense?
Okay, it so happened that there was a movie being promoted in campus, and they allowed, the director and the actor and the other production people of that movie to get into the campus. This was Lino Broca's Tinimbang Ka Ngunit Kulang. Okay, so Lino came in. Okay, Direk Lino came in with the very, very, very young Christopher De Leon.
Oh, wow.
Okay, who was being launched in that movie. So they had an open forum, to invite students to watch Tinimbang Ka Ngunit Kulang, which was produced by Cine Manila. And being the features editor, together with my co-features editor, Josie Sayok at that time, we were given about 30 minutes to interview Lino. Okay, so we had a 2-in-1 interview with Lino Broca. And when Lino started talking, I was absolutely fascinated by the way he started bringing out the importance of Filipino movies, why Filipino movies should not be considered just merely as vessels of entertainment, but why they are artifacts of culture, why they are socially, politically, and economically reflective of the time. He was talking like that. It was not flying over my head, but I said, my God, this is a possibility.
So he really connected with you.
Yeah, I really connected.
But at that time, you were already a fan of Lino Broca.
No.
Not yet.
No,
but you've seen his films.
I've seen Wanted Perfect Mother, which was his very first film. Okay.
Wow.
I saw Wanted Perfect Mother, which had the launching movie of Snooki Serna. But that's it. I was not exactly a major fan of Lino. And because of that specific event, I was about to graduate at the time. I was going to graduate about a year after. I'm not a comm arts major. I'm a lit major. Okay, so it just so happened that on my final year, De La Salle University suddenly decided to come up with a comm arts program with Clodoaldo Del Mundo Jr. as the chairman.
Wow, very sharp memory. You even remember.
Yes, because Dr. Del Mundo, who I call Uncle Doy, is still very much around and still a driving force of De La Salle University's comm arts program. So I had 18 units of electives because I did not take a single elective while I was doing my undergrad years. I consumed all that and even cheated my parents by asking to stay another 9 units to get ComArt subjects.
Wow, you extended just to have
Yeah,
more
because
units.
because I really was fascinated with it. I was so inspired, okay, by Lino, but more so I was so inspired by Doy Del Mundo, who wrote Itim and eventually Maynila sa Kuko ng Liwanag. So this man, okay, Lino Broca, Lino Broca was such a major influence.
And this is Lino Broca.
And this is
this
Lino.
how he looked when you first interviewed him?
Yes,
Ganito na,
yes.
ito siya kabata pa at the time.
You know what's so there is some serendipity that happened along the way. Now that I'm chairman of FDCP, just yesterday, it was Lino's birthday. Okay?
Oh, wow.
And then I met with a number of people with Carlota Films, okay, and then the head of the Philippine Film Archives, and we decided to restore, of all movies, Tinimbang Ka Ngunit Kulang.
I want to watch that.
Oh my God.
So is there a way for you to remaster it and then release it to the public?
Yes, we are. We are
That's
hoping
wonderful.
to restore the film, to redigitize it, remaster it, and then show it all over again. Okay, because this is the film that opened the floodgates of the second golden age. So it has to be restored. It has to be restored. You know what's so weird? The rights were purchased not by a Filipino producer. The global rights, except for Asia, belongs to a Western company.
Well, perhaps they were able to recognize talent and then they
were
purchased the
able
rights.
to-
So right now, if we are to show it, you have to pay this foreign.
No, as long as we
owner?
show it in Asia, it's all right.
Because it's
But
within
then if
Asia.
it's distributed in the Americas as well as Europe, it belongs to another company. But then we are restoring it for Asian distribution and more importantly, Philippine distribution. I think Filipino students, not only of film, but this generation has to see this film, which really changed the directions of Filipino cinema. So it's so serendipitous. Yeah.
Yes, and we look forward to watching this movie.
Yes, and then there's another Broca movie which is going to be restored. Hopefully we can negotiate well and restore Tatlo Dalawa Isa.
Okay.
Well, later on when we discuss FDCP, I will emphasize on the importance we're giving to film restoration. Yeah.
Well, let's look at the next picture. Since
Okay.
you mentioned a younger Christopher De Leon, we have
Tirso
one
Cruz
of the
III.
classics as well, Tirso Cruz III.
Okay.
Paano ka nakumbinsi ni Tirso Cruz III na tanggapin yung chairmanship ng FDCP?
Kasi baliw yan taong yan. Kaibigan ko yan taong yan, baliw yan. Nung inoffer sa kanya yung chairmanship ng FDCP, right after BBM was sworn into office, he called up Loris Guillen and said, Loris, will I accept this or not? Sabi niya, why don't you ask the help of 2 people, okay? And one of them was me. So he calls me up, okay, at 8 in the morning on a Sunday when I was barely regaining consciousness, okay, and says, can you help me? I said, okay, all right. And I didn't realize that by saying okay because half awake ako, that would lead to one thing or another. So finally, he became the chairperson of FDCP and he got me as a consultant. So I would be going around with him and then we would be analyzing problems, blah, 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 blah. A year and a half later, he says, Joey, I wanna resign na. Sabi ko, do you know the repercussions of your resignation? There are so many people who are coterminous with you. Okay, and there are a lot of people who gave up their jobs to be with him. So if he resigns, these people will be out of a job. Sabi ko, Tirso, you can't do that. Sabi ko, because what about these people who gave it? And says, that's why I'm asking you, can you cover for me? Can you cover the year and a half remaining of my term? So that way, we can protect the people for not losing jobs. So sabi ko, sige. You know, attorney, I did not realize, okay, the amount of things I had to give up by saying yes to Tirso.
At that point, were you still directing?
Yes.
Oh no, so you had to give up.
Yeah, I was still directing.
films.
I was still the chairman of the film program of the College of St. Benilde. I was still a consultant for one of the major studios. I had to give that up. Okay. The Board of Trustees of FDCP allowed me to shoot films. I said, no, we won't stop you from shooting. But there's no time. There's no time to shoot
true.
because you have to get a chunk, a whole window of your schedule to dedicate to shooting. And I never realized that, I said, okay, I'm going to go to the agency about once or twice or thrice a week. I didn't realize I had to be there 5 days a week.
Yeah, and all the signing that you have to do, you're the signing authority, and of course managing
Actually,
people.
I never realized that. That's why pala, Tirsa's final words to me is, buy a lot of ball pens. I never realized that you have mountains of
Yes,
things
that's true.
to sign from, hindi naman pirma ka lang ng
Yeah.
pirma, babasahin mo kung ano yung pinipirmahan mo. I never realized that this is part of the job, all the
Yes.
signing you have
Yes.
to do. Yeah, well, it has come to a point that I hate the very sight of my signature. I really hate the sight of...
Kung pwede lang stamp, eh, no?
I know,
Stamp na lang.
I
But
know.
based on your experience so far, are you enjoying your role as chairman?
Okay. You want the good news or the bad news first?
Good or bad news first?
Okay, bad news is I really miss being the chairman of a film program. Okay? But the good news is that I'm doing work which is much more than being the chairman of a film program. I'm actually programming an industry. Okay? The bad news is that I wish I can do more films. Okay? Because, I think retirement will never be an option for me. But the good news is that I'm giving opportunities, especially to young filmmakers. Am I enjoying it? Tremendously. Why? Because I'm learning a lot. I'm 70 years old, and then I got into this office at the age of 69, okay? But in the 68 years of my existence, including the more than 4 decades of working in this industry, I never knew the entire other side of filmmaking or the importance of the entire industry to nation building and to the whole idea of culture. I'm a person who loves to learn, and every day I'm learning. I've only gone to about 4 film festivals in my career as a director, but now I'm going to so many film festivals.
And do you find that something that teaches you a lot?
Okay, there's a good news and bad news. The bad news is I hate jet lag. Okay?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when you go into Europe and oh God, the long travel really
Yes,
is not for
I
somebody
agree.
of my age, my size, and my height, right? But the learning you get, it's not like going to Cannes and seeing Meryl Streep, just a few feet away, or bumping into Johnny Depp. No, it's not that. It's meeting the various heads of other film councils of other nations and talking and being part of big organizations which involve not only filmmaking but policies which involve film. It's learning about the effects of streaming platforms with cinema audiences. It's fascinating, and it's something which you cannot learn in textbooks.
Based on your interactions with international foreign councils, how mature or immature is our film industry?
Let's put it this way, we're at the cusp of puberty.
Ganun ba? Parang talagang we're behind.
Yeah, we are. We are behind mainly because we need to really push a lot in terms of education, okay? And I'm talking about education on 3 levels, okay? Education on the part of filmmakers, especially the next generation of filmmakers. Education in terms of the teachers of film, okay? In order to equip those who will teach the next generation the proper attitude and the proper technical requirements of filmmaking, considering the speed of science and technology. But thirdly, educating the audience.
That later I want to understand more as part of your goals is educating the educators.
Yeah.
I want to ask you more
Yeah.
about that. Going into your experience as chairman of the FDCP, based on our research, we also found out that a lot of people reach out to you directly, message you. What type of concerns are you getting?
Okay, there are 3 kinds. One is the downright trivia, okay? Oh my God, when you have, direct messages in your Facebook.
Ganun type. Pati sa Facebook, meron mga direct messages. Akala ko naman pumupunta sa opisina
No.
mo to talk to you. Talagang ganun pala.
Yeah, that's the 3rd
Nakadirect.
level, okay? Of parents with pictures of their children wanting to be artistas.
Oh, wow. Sa'yo rin pumupunta yun.
Yeah, they think that I am a talent agency, okay? They think I'm a talent. Yeah. 2nd level is that there are people who think that we are, overflowing with money. Okay, we are overflowing with money, and that can we ask for 2 million for this project? Oh, what's the project? And it's got nothing to do in terms of the mandate of the agency. So
What is the mandate of the agency since you're now speaking in public para naman mabawasan yung mga direct messages sa Facebook?
one is it has to be for development. Okay, it's the development does not necessarily mean instant gratification, but something which will have a short-term and a long-term effect in terms of cinema. I'll give an example. One thing we added right now, one policy that Tirso and I started is called the Academic Film Society. We got an association of all schools which offer film and com arts and form a big organization which we can provide service and for them to interact with one another. We wanted students to collaborate, to network with one another. So it doesn't matter if you're a graduate of College of St. Benilde or of Ateneo, you're all going to be young Filipino filmmakers. And we're going to guide you into some proper perspective leading to that. So that's a long-term development. Now, you don't ask us for 2 million because you want to do a film, okay? A film which has got nothing to do with the upliftment of the industry. Okay, and that's very, very important for us. That you have to, a certain sense of focus. Another thing is that one thing that really did a lot of cutting are travels abroad.
So you cut that?
Oh, yeah. We are very selective about the film festivals we attend because it costs millions, okay?
To attend.
Okay? It costs millions to attend. And if you have no film to show, what's the point of attending?
Yeah. Why does it cost millions to attend?
Ay,
It's not
grabe.
just the flights. What
Not
else?
just the flight. You get badges, okay, to get into the.
And that costs a lot of money.
Like
the
for instance,
badges.
we're going to Cannes this coming May. Again, this is my 3rd time in Cannes. The pavilion is so expensive. We have to share it with Singapore. And when you have something as expensive as that, it must have a very tangible outcome in the end. Okay, what is the deliverable of spending so much for this specific?
Can you share with us how much, when you say it's expensive, how much would be a pavilion and what do you do there? Like, are you able to exhibit something in the pavilion?
All right, let's put it this way. Cannes would be about 4M.
$4 million
No,
or
4 million
pesos.
pesos.
Okay.
But then when you put it in the context of how much budget you get and the number of activities you do, it's pretty expensive. You know how much it costs to go to Europe, right?
Yes.
In the cost of going to Europe, plus the per diem. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let me also clarify the per diem element. If you work for government, it's not much.
Yes, I've worked in government. It's not much.
Di ba, attorney?
Yeah.
Yeah, people were telling me, sarap-sarap, ang dami mong biyahe. Sabi ko, tuwing ako nagbibiyahe, abonado ako.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Abonado ako. Another classic example. Of course, this is my own quirk. No, because of my age, my size, and my height. When you join government, you're given an economy class
Yes.
ticket. You're given a coach ticket, okay? Even if you go to the bulkhead, okay, to get more legroom, you have to pay for the extra.
Yeah.
More so if you have a 17-hour flight.
Yeah, if you do business, talagang times 4, times 5 of your economy class ticket.
I know. We were looking at the tickets for Cannes this coming May, and my jaw dropped if I decide to go business class. Sabi ko, this is my entire sweldo for the month. Okay, just to go business class, which I will spend only for a few hours, not even for a day. So that's the downside now. Where was I? Yeah, what do we do in the pavilion? Number one is we sell the Philippines. We have incentives, okay, for foreign co-productions who are interested in shooting in the country because ang return niyan is 13:1 eh. Okay? 13 pesos for every 1 peso which you invest in these incentives. So we try to attract people to shoot in the Philippines and join co-productions with various rebates. Okay, in terms of location, in terms of certain points which you can achieve. No? Secondly is we provide, since the pavilions are so expensive, we provide the space for Filipino producers to be able to make negotiations.
Ah, that's good. So they can connect.
Yeah, they can connect. Okay, so they can make their appointments before they fly to Cannes, but we provide them with the table, we provide them with the screen. We have looped trailers of all the Filipino films that we brought over. You have all your collaterals available. So we provide them with that space. Thirdly is we provide events in which, like this coming Cannes Film Festival, we're providing an event for the Filipino producers who are going there, we're giving them badges. Because when you get a booth, you get like 15 free badges, and we distribute that, okay, to the producers. And attorney, these badges are expensive.
If you were to buy it yourself,
Oh, God,
like magkano per badge?
Oh God, I don't know, but then they're expensive, okay? We only allocate so much for the staff, and then the rest we give to producers. Okay, if you have those badges, okay, you can connect with both, Middle East, European, and American producers. So you can use the space for that. And then most important is that we encourage interaction among producers and artists. We provide that space. We hold minor events. Now, minor events are little cocktails on which they can meet.
Okay, so you really provide a platform for networking and connecting producers. How do you avoid politics in terms of distributing the badges? Kasi I'm assuming there's more producers than badges
available. It's called first come, first serve.
Unahan na lang.
Like for instance, we got a memo from, no, not a memo, we got a call from somebody from the French embassy who said, you know what, there are just so many people applying for the Shenzhen for France. Okay, if you're going to Cannes, tell your producers to apply now because they may not be able to reach the deadline with the release of the Shenzhen visas. So we called the people. How many have already applied? Only 4. So call up people, try to find out and fill up the 15 as soon as possible and tell them to get the... So we are very aggressive in getting producers in. After all, we are a service agency. Okay,
Yes.
we are a service agency, and we're not, we're not there for profit. Which leads me to the one final thing that we do each time we go to festivals, like in Cannes, in Berlin. Okay, we don't go to Venice. Okay, because very minimal ang exposure. Not unless this August there is a reason to go to Venice. What we do is we have somebody who scouts for films. And when he finds a very good film, okay, he tries to get the license to show in the Philippines. And we know these films, attorney, will never be taken by a mainstream distributor. In other words, hindi naman yung artsy-fartsy siya, pero hindi yung the kind of film na kukunin ng mainstream producer. Example, the one that won the Oscar Best Animation is entitled Flow from Latvia. Nobody picked it up, and we got it for what, about $3,000?
Yeah. So it translates to profits.
No. Yeah, we showed it. We showed
Yeah.
we showed it recently in our World Cinema Festival. We showed it for 250 pesos, and it's extended for 3 weeks. But the money does not go to us; it goes to the National Treasury.
Yeah, so at least it translates to profits for the country.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. So do you see streaming platforms as a boon or bane to Filipino films? At meron ba tayong magagawa para ma-promote pa ang Filipino films sa streamlining platforms? But before you answer that question, we'll have to take a short break. At the Forefront, we'll be right back.
Get to the latest stories.
The Philippines bags a historic bronze at the 2025 Asia-Pacific Women's Lacrosse Championship.
The updates.
Table tennis power duo siblings brought home medals from the WTT Youth Contender.
The scores and what to celebrate in the world of sports.
I'm Anton Rojas.
And I'm Erica Christensen.
On the scorecard.
Where sports is our business.
Business is our sport.
Only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Rain Musni. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey.
We empower.
This country deserves a real choice in the next election.
We motivate.
Do not invest money that you're not able to afford to lose.
Changes that are vital.
We're monitoring the sale of these products online.
Follow the Money with Rain Musni.
Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Always on top.
Welcome back at the Forefront. Direk Joey, do you see streaming platforms as a boon or a bane to Filipino films? And meron bang difference ang paggawa ng pelikula for streaming platforms versus theater presentation?
Oh God,
Okay, so let's go to the first one. Bane or boon?
both.
Both?
Both, okay? It's a bane mainly because people are no longer watching in cinemas, okay? Because there's a whole history to that. After the 2.5 years to 3 years of the pandemic, our way of life has changed completely. And watching movies is no longer part of that way of life because there are streaming platforms, you know. Another thing is the cost of movie tickets, which I completely understand, okay, as to why theater owners charge this amount. And they have a way of justifying it, and we have a way of arguing against it, right? But whether or not it's, whatever we can do is there, okay? Hindi na nanonood ng sine because a lot of people cannot afford to watch movies anymore in cinemas, okay? We did a research, the FDCP commissioned the De La Salle Research Group to study the viewing habits of people, and we realized that we've lost the DNA audiences. Hindi na sila nanonood ng sine.
Talagang streaming platform na.
Or YouTube.
But you know, Direk Joey, apart from the cost kasi of traveling, and you know, the traffic, especially if your audience is in Metro Manila, yung traffic din, it eats up so much of your time. And you're right, the food. You can eat whatever you want while watching if you're at home.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in a theater, there's so many restrictions, or you have to buy pa.
Exactly. So, you know, and we've been spoiled by the pandemic. The pandemic, you know, recalibrated our minds as to how we can entertain ourselves. And oh my God, attorney, the rising forms of entertainment now. Of course, there's TikTok, there's the Instagram, and then the Facebook Reels, and that give birth to. You've heard of the vertical shorts. Vertical shorts are these series which you watch on your phones.
Yes.
So
wait, does TikTok qualify as vertical shorts?
no, it's not. But then it is a short form entertainment.
Okay.
Like,
so vertical shorts are what?
The drama series, 120-part drama series of 5 minutes
hindi
each.
yata ako nanonood ng ganyan. So
I
may
know.
ganon. Okay, I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
So after all, I'm not familiar with vertical shorts.
Vertical shorts are growing. I was just discussing this with a number of producers before in another forum. And would you believe the major studios are now creating vertical shorts? Wow. So, you know, that will, because that has become more profitable than investing what? 15 to 20 million for a movie, which you know will not necessarily make money in the cinemas. Attorney, I'll give you an example. Today, as we speak, this day in April, since the Metro Manila Film Festival, it's only now that there is one non-Filipino film that made money.
Which one?
And this is the Kim Pao movie, the Kim Chu Paolo Avellino movie. Every Filipino movie that was shown from the time of and The Breadwinner is, as well as Green Bones, up to now, walang kumita.
Are we talking about the Manila Film Fest just last year?
Yeah, last year. From Metro
Isa lang ang naging profitable.
Since then and now, it's na lang.
Since December.
Yeah, only one. Okay, made money. So, how can you make enganyo producers to make movies for cinemas? Hindi ba? Yeah. So now, when we talk to producers, cinemas are no longer the main event. It's only part of, you know, bringing these content to various platforms, including streaming.
So the vertical shorts are available where? Is it just YouTube or?
No, it's available. Well, it's available in your phone. You subscribe.
You subscribe
to the platform that makes the vertical shorts. Okay, I cannot name the name because I might think I'm promoting. No?
Yes, okay.
But yun, ganon.
I'm not familiar with this industry.
You pay so many hundreds, I think 120, hindi ako sigurado. And then you get so many episodes. And syempre you're bitin. So you have to keep on. You get addicted. These are the new forms.
Okay.
And it's called portable entertainment. You know what, attorney? We've lost the community sense of entertainment.
Kaya nga
it's personal
kasi hindi na yung nakaupo lahat and there's a big screen that is shared by everyone. So to the other question, is there a difference in the way you film for streaming platforms and theater?
Yeah. I asked that with producers. Producers would do films which are platform-friendly. Okay, ganito hinahanap ng platform na ito. So they make films. There's what you call play one. Okay, the play one form is you show it first in the cinema, then it goes into the platform. Requirement nila, you have to show it first in the cinema because that's more mura for them to buy rather than an original. Okay, an original is the platform will buy it from you. Pero the setback of that is you lose all your IP. It goes to the platform. Whereas Play One, you get to keep the IP and you just lease it to the platform.
Which is why it's also cheaper for the platform to buy it.
To buy it. Yeah, but it's really, really interesting. I was talking to Vincent Del Rosario of Vivo. They said they would rather have a Play One rather than an original because they want to keep the IP because it has a greater length of profit. Okay, in terms of putting it to various platforms. So has it changed? Oh yeah. The way you make films has changed. That's why there is great importance in independent filmmaking.
Yeah, based on the study that you made when you were looking at theater attendance, and you said that it's become unaffordable or people can no longer afford it. Was there a price that you determined would be a price that people would buy tickets, or is it a behavioral issue?
Both, okay? The acceptable price that people would want to bring back the cost of a plane ticket, of a movie ticket is 250 pesos.
Okay, per movie.
Per movie. Now it's tailing 400, but if you watch, syempre, mga IMAX, 4 digits na sometimes, hindi ba? Yeah. So 250 daw is acceptable. Is it also behavioral? Yeah, it's also behavioral. Why? There seems, like, who watches Filipino movies now if it's not the masa? It's the Gen Y and Gen Z and some Gen X, okay? These people are very discreet, or rather discriminating in terms of what kind of movies they feel they deserve to spend 400 pesos for. And these are people who have, again, been trained to watch platforms exposed to highly produced K-dramas. They demand the same thing from first for them to spend 400 pesos plus. So as a result of that, kulang na kulang talaga ang nanonood. Kulang na kulang nanonood. There was a time that a certain mall chain brought down the price of the Filipino film to 270 pesos. Just as an experiment, yeah.
Hindi rin.
Hindi rin. Because they felt that the movie being shown for 270 pesos is not even worth 270 pesos. So
paano, how are we going to revive our movie industry or make it competitive? I know there are initiatives to make it a bit similar to the track of the Korea film and telenovela industry. There was a recent initiative which the First Lady Lisa Marcos also attended in Los Angeles, California, which is supposed to promote the Philippines, not just as a filmmaker, but also as a destination to wherein you can shoot your movies. Ano yung naging outcome of that?
Okay. Firstly, your first question, how do we revive the industry? How do we intensify? How do we fortify it? My personal perspective is, we have to stop looking at the market ending in our backyard. Okay? There was a Thai film, I don't know if you're aware of this, a number of months ago, How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies.
I've heard of that. And I heard that it was successful.
Jesus Christ, it was a regional success. It was not only a success in Thailand and the Philippines, but the entire region got it up. And when you watch it, it's like a Filipino movie.
Oh, wow. But this was, I remember seeing it in Netflix, I think.
It eventually migrated to Netflix. Okay.
Pero it's, what do you call that, yung just...
Play One.
Play One.
It was a Play One thing.
I'm learning terms from you.
Okay. So in other words, it made its money, okay, all over Asia, and especially in the Philippines. It was even beating the Filipino film which it competed with on its third week.
Wow.
Okay. So in other words, people got it done. So then another realization. Remember when they showed what is this movie? Hello, Love Again, of ABS-CBN. With Alden Richards and Catherine Bernardo. They opened it in Manila and they opened it in the US with a distributor. Attorney, it was number 8. The number 8 movie in the US when it opened.
Oh, wow.
So I said,
but the audience was A mix? Like, hindi lang
Let's
Pinoy?
just say kahit Pinoy lang yun.
Okay.
Can you imagine how many Pinoys there are
Oo
pala
nga eh,
in the
yeah.
US? So we said that, we have to stop looking at the market as that which ends in the backyard. And I was saying, let's think of Hello Love again. Okay, so here you are, you planted this beautiful garden, it suddenly blossomed in your backyard. But what you forgot is there is an entire field reaching the horizon, which you left untended. Why can't we go as far as the horizon and see and push our films in a global scale?
So you're saying, kunwari, yung mga movies like Hello Love Again, let's produce it in a way that reaches not just Filipino audiences, that will appeal to
kasi naman,
non-Filipinos.
Yeah, kasi naman, it's wrong to say that it was an international hit kung puro Pilipino lang nanood, di ba? So it was not an international hit. So now, I think itong Kim Pao movie, this Kim Chu, Paolo Avellino movie, open in Manila and it's also open in the US simultaneously. And I know that a Regal movie, which will open in the end of April, is also opening in Manila, but also opening in the States at the same time. So maybe that's one way, okay, of extending the market outside. That's just the US. Can you imagine the number of Filipinos in the Middle East?
Yeah,
Can you,
there's a lot,
even only for that, may expand mo yung market, but then eventually you have to get a real international market by creating internationally palatable films.
Okay, so it's really the content, no, at
Yep.
the end of the day.
Yep.
Let's shift to something lighter because we want to get to know you better.
Oh, God,
Apart
okay.
from this interview, we'll have categories and then name your top 3. You'll have 20 seconds per category to
Okay.
give your answer.
All right.
So, number 1, top 3 Filipino films as a screenwriter.
As a screenwriter, Tinimbang Ka, Ngunit Kulang, Manila by Night, and then recently, About Us But Not About Us.
Okay, nice. At least for people watching, makakuha sila ng tips. Ano yung dapat panoorin?
Yeah, okay.
Top 3 Filipino films as a filmmaker.
As a filmmaker, okay. Again, Tinimbang Ka, Ngunit Kulang, Relasyon and A Broken Marriage, both combined by Bernal, and then, again, About Us But Not About Us.
Oh, wow. Tsaka yung Tinimbang Ka, Ngunit Kulang talagang, it's really one of
Yeah,
your favorites.
yeah.
I'm starting to notice.
Yeah.
Top 3 TV shows or series as a writer.
As a writer, oh my God, Kwentong Kutsero, which was Time of Narciso Pimentel. Okay, Panagimpan, which was directed by Mitos Villarreal in the 60s and 70s. And then, my own personal favorite, because I wrote it, Abangan ang Susunod na Kabanata.
Oh, I saw that. Ikaw pala yun.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Thank you.
Top 3 Filipino directors that you look up to.
Okay, Broca, Bernal, and Peque Galiaga.
Wow. Top 3 awards as director or screenwriter that you are most proud of. So this relates to you.
Okay, Oro Plata Mata as a writer. Okay, May Minamahal as a writer and director. And then lately, Kasal Kasali Kasalo as a writer and director. If I can push in a 4th, Live Show as a writer and director.
Kasal Kasali Kasalo. That was also
Yeah.
a good movie. I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
Top 3 Filipino veteran actors or actresses that you like working with.
Top of the list, Judy Ann Santos. Okay, second is Aga Mulak, and then third is, oh my God, ang dami nila. Maybe Maricel Soriano.
Okay, wag naman sana magselo si iba, no? But why do you like working with Judy Ann Santos, Aga Mulak, and Maricel Soriano? Those 3.
Okay, with Judy Ann Santos, not only because she's my neighbor and a personal friend, but she's a wonderful, intelligent actress who was trained by years of experience.
She started when she was young. I used to watch Mara Clara.
Yeah, I
when I
know.
was young.
And I worked with her in a movie called Mumunting Lihim, and we would do various takes of the same scene of which she's talking to the camera, and no 2 takes were the same. She would really use all her resources and actors to deliver a unique rendition in each take. Aga Mulak, because he's a wonderful person to work with, okay? He used to come in late every time on the set, but he's so charming you'd forgive him at the slightest provocation, okay? And he's a wonderful actor in terms of enjoying the set. And then Maricel Soriano, because I love Maricel. I wish she can be given more roles at her age and be pushed to come up with more substantial projects. Yeah.
Okay. So, Last question. Ang bilis kasi ng time, sayang. Do you agree with the suggestion to remake classic Pinoy films? And do you think this will help in luring back people to the theaters?
No. Okay?
No. So first, I think do you agree with the suggestion to remake? Hindi rin.
No, I don't believe in remaking. I believe in restoring.
So yung kaninang pinag-uusapan natin, remastering.
Remastering and restoring.
Keeping it intact.
Intact and showing it in its original form, okay, to the audiences today. Because for me, a film is like a moving photograph of a specific time and place in the history or the timeline of a culture. You cannot duplicate that by remaking it and trying to recapture something that has already gone to pass, but it's still important in realizing why it existed at that specific time. I am an advocate of restoration, mainly because I believe that, if you don't give due respect, if you do not know your past, then you will not know why you are in the here and now. And if you don't know why you're in the here and now, how would you determine where you will eventually go? So I think the past is really the basic groundwork of all cultural development. And it's so sad, attorney, that would you believe that there's no existing Filipino film before the war? Everything has been destroyed.
Ay, sayang. Because of
archiving was never our priority, but now I am fighting tooth and nail to be able to restore, especially the works of Abaya, Bernal, and Broca, and all the, of Kidlat Tahimik, of Eddie Romero, because these are the national artists which have been deemed by the country, okay, as paragons of our culture.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
How do you envision the Philippine film industry 5 years from now?
When I accepted this job, and I know that, if I get renewed, I'll get to be around until 2028, I said, I am going to dedicate every effort of mine to offer a better alternative, to offer a more fertile ground for the next generation of filmmakers. They're saying, it's gone, it's dying. No, it's not. I'm going to fight tooth and nail, especially for the young filmmakers. That was why I was a very strong advocate of Cinemalaya, because I believe that it's no longer my generation or Joel Lamangan's generation or Chito Roño's generation. It has to be the generation of the Antoinette Hadaones, the Dan Villegases, the Dwayne Baltasars, and even the next generation after them, who will really make Broca and Bernal and Abaya very proud.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And we'll do another mini game. So
Okay.
nagkaroon pa tayo, at least may extra time pa.
Okay.
And all you need to do is to complete the sentence.
Okay.
Kung wala ako sa film industry, ako ngayon ay...
Isa pa ring teacher.
So you really like
I really like teaching because I believe even being a filmmaker you're still a teacher. And even in my job at FDCP, I am still a teacher.
As a filmmaker, ang ikinakatuwa ni Direk Joey ay...
To work with so many people. Ang saya-saya na makatrabaho mo ang iba't ibang uri ng tao. Ang filmmaking ay collaborative. That's why gustong-gusto ko ito. Pinakamahirap ang magsulat dahil mag-isa ka. Pinakamasaya ang mag-direct dahil ang dami-daming tao sa paligid mo at ang saya-saya sa set.
You're probably an extrovert, no? Kasi iba na di-drain pag maraming tao. Ikaw baliktad na
Ay, hindi.
energize ka.
Oo.
Nakaka-high blood si Direk Joey sa set kapag
incompetence, okay? I mean, wala naman taong perpekto, okay? Pero ayoko yung nagpapalusot. Okay? There are two words na ayoko. Yung ayun ay ang akala ko, okay? At saka pasensya na. Okay? I don't think yung akala ko, wag mo akalain, magtanong ka. At yung pasensya na, bakit ka pagpapasensya? You're supposed to deliver the best of your work.
Right. Okay, very good. I will learn to also say that. Meron nagpapasensya. Ang pinaka-effective na paraan para gumaling sa storytelling ay...
Buksan mo ang mata at ang puso mo sa paligid mo. Hindi ka pwedeng maging manunulat, hindi ka pwedeng maging mananalaysay ng kung anumang naratibo kung magkukulong ka sa kwarto. Sa edad kong ito, binubuksan ko pa rin ang sarili ko sa iba't ibang uri ng karanasan. Lalo-lalo na sa iba't ibang uri ng tao. Ako, iharap mo ko sa First Lady at ang mga taong nasa paligid niya, kaya ko. Pero kaya ko rin humarap, okay, sa taong nagbebenta ng sigarilyo sa bangketa. Dahil iba ang kwentong magagaling dun sa mga tao sa paligid ng First Lady at iba ang mga kwento mahagilap mo sa bangketa. Hindi ka pwedeng magkulong sa kwarto at sabihin mo na ito lang ang aking mundo.
Wow, that's a very great advice. Hindi lang yan sa storytelling applicable.
Sa lahat.
Oo, sa lahat.
Oo.
Naniniwala akong may pag-asa pa ang pelikulang Pilipino na muling maging masigla dahil
Dahil ang gagaling ng mga batang filmmakers. May mga estudyante ko na pag pinapanood ko yung mga gawa nila, sabi ko, mga buwisit na to, mas magaling kayo sa akin. Eh mga bata pa sila. So imagine kung bigyan pa sila ng, bigyan pa sila ng mga taon at karanasan at mga pagkakataon na gumawa ng pelikula, sabi ko, imposibleng hindi gumanda ang kinabukasan ng pelikulang Pilipino.
And now, because a lot of mainstream movies are so different from yung mga nakalakihan mo that
Yung mga
inspired you to
ginawa
be
ko.
in the industry, yes.
Oo.
Name your top 5 Filipino films na para sa'yo, the new generation of Filipinos must watch.
Okay, umpisahan natin sa mga classic, okay? From mga classics na mga gawa nila Lamberto Abellana. Okay, kunyari, isang example niyan is yung Anak Dalita, okay? Ikalawa, yung akin na naman gagamitin, Tinimbang ka ngunit kulang. Ikatlo, City After Dark ni Ismael Bernal. Ikaapat, okay, yung mga gawa ni Jun Lana, yung About Us But Not About Us. And then, most recently, yung pelikulang that left such a great impression with me, okay, is dalawang pelikula na galing sa Cinemalaya. Ito yung Converge, okay, ni Direk Jose at saka yung The Hearing na gawa ni Lau Fajardo. Very unheard of films, very konti ang nanood, pero they're very impactful Filipino films that deserve greater exhibition.
Okay, I will definitely check out those films. Lastly, we have a few minutes left. So what is your message to the public in terms of what to expect from the Filipino film industry in the upcoming years?
Okay, and in terms of FDCP, we're working very, very hard, okay, to uplift the industry, not only through the kind of films being produced, but by training the next generation of filmmakers, okay? This coming Monday, for instance, we are meeting with Secretary Angara of DepEd, because we're coming up with a program to teach film teachers as to how to go about doing films. We're doing a lot of exposure. We're doing a lot of exposure for students to see a greater variety of films from all over the world. So ang pinapangako ko sa kanila is we are trying very hard. Huwag niyong akalain na walang ginagawa. I never expected I'll be saying this line. Huwag niyong akalain na walang ginagawa ang gobyerno, okay, sa pag-a-uplift ng pelikulang Pilipino. Okay? May sabihin ako sa inyo, for the first time, itong pamahalaang ito, nagbigay ng pera para bumili ng restoration machine. Okay, para dito ma-restore ang mga Filipino movies. Wala pang gumagawa nito. Yung iba puro abla. Pero ang gusto ko ngayon, lalo-lalo na sa ginagawa ng First Lady, is she's putting her money where her mouth is. Okay, and she wants action. And this just aligns with the way I do things, you know. I don't want to promise if I cannot deliver. And that, pinapangako ko na higit lang sa pangako ko, pagbigyan nyo naman ang pelikulang Pilipino. Bago nyo matahin, alamin ninyo. Okay? Kung meron mang kumakalaban sa atin, kung meron mang humahatak pababa sa Pilipino, ang nakakalungkot ay ang kapwa Pilipino. Kasi kung hindi tayo maniniwala kung ano tayo, sino pa maniniwala sa atin?
Okay, very great message. Thank you so much, Direk
Thank you so much,
Joey.
too.
It was truly entertaining to interview you. So ang saya-saya to end the week at the forefront with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Direk Jose Reyes is determined to restore the golden age of Philippine cinema by championing filmmakers and strengthening the industry's foundation. As FDCP chairman and CEO, he pushes for programs that support local talent, preserve film heritage, and elevate Filipino stories on the global stage. His vision is clear: a future where Philippine cinema thrives, resonates with audience worldwide, and reclaim its rightful place in the spotlight. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again on Monday for meaningful conversations and clearer understanding of issues that are important in our everyday lives. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.